Hello, and welcome to Finsweet Live. Today, we are covering Client First V2. This is a build day. We're going inside Webflow Designer, and we'll talk about the most important updates in Client First V2. Client First V1 really influenced the community in a positive way. We have a lot of users on V1. And in V2, we have some really awesome updates that help you build more organized, more scalable, and just better Webflow projects. So that's what this stream is all about. We'll be learning what those updates in V2 are. And we're going to do it by actually converting one of our V1 templates into V2. So if you're thinking about converting a V1 project to V2, or you're just starting a new V2 project and you're a V1 user, this stream is for you because you will know those key differences and will actually build it live, and you'll just learn a lot from that. Okay, let's do that. Also, this is my first official live build. We've been a lot of lives in the past, and I've done live builds with Alex, but Alex does all the work. But now I'm coming in, doing this tutorial. Our pro community is asking for it. The client first community is asking for it. So we're making it happen. All right, before we get into the content, we have to say hello to everybody in the audience. Michael Douglas, what's up? How's it going? Dale Jensen, Duncan Prince, how you doing? Nick Jones, Joe looks 15 in that thumbnail. Wow, I don't know if I like that or don't like that comment, but I guess that's cool. Thank you. David Jemison standing by. Hello, John Matthias, Yogesh, Sean Duval. What's up? We appreciate you. Mohammed, hello. Penny, always great to see you. Magdalena, Tanette, Demetrius, Mika. We have Rock and Roll CEO. Charles, would love to bring up this comment. Oh, come on. I'm just starting to understand Client First V2 and now just starting to understand Client First V1 and now it's V2. Charles, don't worry. You'll see there's only a few updates to V2. They're powerful, but it's backward compatible. So if you're using V1, it's still following V2. Think of it like new features on top of V1. So you're good. Don't worry. This stream is going to clear up everything that we've added to V2. Okay, Duncan Prince, again, you get a double hello. Greg Dolan, what's up? Okay, wow, we have a lot of people here. Nice, that's great. Excited for this one. Me too. Okay, Frank, switching from V1 to V2 a few days ago, really good timing. Yeah, it is. And if you're doing a new build, you should be following V2. We release V2 to help you, to do better. So it's not to make you learn more things or to put some extra stress on you. It's to help you do a better build. So this is important. Okay. Anna, nice haircut. Haircut V2. Yes. Okay. All right. Good. And a bunch of hellos. Abdul, Kayla, Kai, Assurance, Charles, and okay, a lot of hellos. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate everybody being here. All right, so let's overview what we're going to do, and then we get into it. Let's go over to the screen share. Let's see the content we're working with. We are in the client first docs. We will be referring to the V1 to V2 page. So if we go into the docs, we'll find this V1 to V2 guide. And we'll be going through this page to talk about each of these line items and then how they convert into an actual Webflow project. So we'll go over folders. Folders is the biggest update in V2. This is like the core and heart of V2, folders. So this is going to be really the start of this episode, talking about why we should use folders and how they're going to help us build. That includes class types better defined. We had a couple of things in V1 that kind of conflicted with each other, weren't completely clear. They were good, but not as clearly defined as we have in V2. We'll talk about that. Some some renaming of classes. We have the section underscore, which is directly related to the folders update. We have a nice new padding section size. This one we will definitely see in action. Super powerful, super global. Heading style. I really like this one. We will certainly talk about this. And we have the display inline flex. We'll talk about that. And spacing strategies. At the end, if we have time, which I think we will be able to show this new spacing strategy, which we are getting excellent reviews on. People are building quicker and more efficiently using blocks for specific use cases and then using wrappers for other use cases. All right, that's it. Let's get into this. So first, folders. Let's look at what folders are. We're going to be inside this template project. So I'll give you about 1 minute to clone this before I actually start making updates. We're going to be actually making the real updates inside the real project. So as I make these updates in the stream and then push publish, this will be live in our Made in Webflow showcase listing. So if you want to clone this template 11 and follow along, you can. If not, you could just sit here and watch. That's all good. Okay, so we'll be doing the homepage, and we're going to go through each part of this homepage and make the appropriate updates from V1 to V2. And let's bring this up. Thank you, Rock and Roll CEO, 84 watching and only 24 likes. I guess we haven't gotten to the good content yet. If you can give this a like, that would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. I think we may be able to get over 100 and we can see a really nice, cool 100 animation. All right, let's do this. Okay. First, folders. Let's jump into folders and let's look at how we can find problems with our project in folders and how we can really add another layer of organization to our project with folders. If I go to Finsweet extension inside the Client First tab and folders, we will see our folders already in place. And this project is a straight V1 build, have not touched it. And you can see the folders are already looking pretty good. We have a About Team folder, a header folder. These are obviously for the About page. This is for the blog. This is for the footer. It's already done well. And that's what I mean by V2 is backward compatible. Your V1 project should have a pretty good folder structure already because it is made to be backward compatible. It should work by default. So if we go into the utility classes, this is a great way to see things that we maybe didn't do as well in V1 or we can improve for V2. In V1, we were a little bit unclear about using the dash and the underscore for components. So if we go here inside the V1, V2, you can see the underscore in the class name used to be just a component. Now the underscore is a custom class folder, and component is just a nice identifying word. So underscore folder. No underscore, it's now a utility class, not a global class, a utility class. So let's see if we can find any classes inside this utility class folder that are not V2 or that are not custom classes, not utility classes, sorry. Right away, got it, blog. So here in blog, let me zoom out. We have blog details. This is not a utility class. This would be much better inside of our, let's say, blogs folder. So I can go and say, all right, this blog's detail is in the blog and blog post template. So I can go to the blog page. Now I'm on the blog page and the details, let's see where this would be. There we go. Blog details. So there was a blogs folder. So I'm going to call this blogs details. And now This should be removed from our utility class folder. We want our utility class folder to have our utility classes. That's not a utility class. Our utility classes are things like not features, align, background, clickable, container classes, hide, main, margin, max. These are utility classes based on a CSS property. Something like features would not be part of this. So we have features, icon, wrapper. That's on the home page. So we go to the home page and let's see. These are icons. There you are. Features, icon, wrapper. So I can go and rename this with the underscore. Okay, this class already exists. And you know what? Maybe I just take that. So I will not make that update, but I will say features underscore icon wrapper. Great. Cool. So I'm going to just remove that dash class. If it's a custom class, if it's for a specific element in the project, we want it to have an underscore. Only dashes are supposed to be utility classes. So now, can we clean this up? Nope, it must be somewhere else. Maybe the product page, I think it said. And just for time purposes, I'm going to rename this. I'm not going to switch everyone here. So this will be the features one icon wrapper, just for the stream. And now we'll see our features should be removed from the utility class folder. This is a great way to see where you did not organize things or where you misnamed things throughout the project. And there we go. Features is gone. I'm not going to go through every single one of these. I want to make sure we hit the entire V1 to V2 guide page, but we should be removing non-utility classes from this folder. Form, great example. All of these form classes should be renamed form underscore whatever it is. What else do we have here? Even this, empty. Empty is not a utility class. It's for a specific element. We can identify this element. So this should be empty underscore state, or really empty underscore message, empty state underscore message. This is a utility class. It's a gradient. Highlighted. I don't know what this is. So there you go. You're starting to see if it's identifiable, it's a custom class. If it's a utility class, it doesn't have that underscore. So that's the first thing. V1 to V2, you have to make sure your folders look beautiful. If they don't look beautiful, you're probably doing something wrong in V2. So this is a great way to cross-check yourself. Okay, wonderful. Does anybody have any questions about that? I haven't really been looking at the questions. I will bring up highly relevant ones. Let's see. Mika, I thought I was the only one getting tripped up on underscores. Nope, you'll get to it. The folders will be your guide. This neat and organized folder structure will be your guide to this class organization. Okay, Pierre, thank you. It makes much more sense. Joe, what is the best naming strategy for folder structure? For example, is this okay? Section name underscore component, name underscore element, name underscore element component name. Well, Maurice, I would say please go to the documentation to read about this. There's a lot of examples about how you can name your folders and folder strategy. As we continue to go through this, I hope to answer this question, but it's not a final, hey, I can answer this exactly correct. It's more about how you want to organize these folders. So here's a nice example. Blogs. We have a little bit too much blog stuff here. Blogs, blog trending, blog template. Maybe I put all of these in the blogs folder and I can have blogs trending, a trending folder nested in the blogs or a template folder nested in the blogs. Or I could call this blog anything. It's really how you want to organize this, right? If somebody said, how do you organize the files on your computer? Well, there's no official answer to that. It's based on the files that are in your computer. And based on that, you create a folder structure. So hopefully that answers a little bit of that. Okay. Emmett, this is a good question. We're going to release a new page in a few weeks outlining this, the interactions naming. Okay. Yes, Pablo Cortez, we are doing that. We released Client First V2, then the next week we released Wizzed. So we just didn't get to actually filming content, but yes, there is going to be a rain shower of content coming over the next few weeks, and this video is part of that. Okay, let's continue. I want to bring up every question, but I'm not going to. We have to continue moving forward here. Class types are better defined. Please make sure you understand this. The difference between a custom class, underscore, identifies a specific element. A utility class, based on a CSS property, something like background red, background black, text color yellow. A global class can be a custom class or a utility class. This is a really important definition in V2. In V1, we didn't really talk about this very well. It was kind of, if it's a global class, use a dash. If it's not, don't use a dash. Didn't make sense. This makes a lot more sense. A global class can be custom with an underscore or can be utility with dash only. Okay, next. Page padding is now padding global. This change is due to folders. So look how easy this update is. Page padding, this is now going to go in the page folder, but we want it in the padding folder. So we've renamed this to padding global. And look what happens when we have that rename. We are going to have an update to folders where you do not have to click through in this. But for right now, for the filming of this video, it does require the click and click. Okay, and we are going to bring this up when Webflow is ready. There we go. Now, in our page folder, we only have the page wrapper, and we have the padding global inside of our padding folder. This is much more logical. It fits with the folder structure, so we went ahead with that rename. Okay, I do not want to open that. Okay, section identifier is now section underscore identifier. So look what happens when we keep this section dash identifier. It's going to go in the utility class folder. And guess what? It's not a utility class. Section, about, all, blog, these are very specific things. We can identify them. So it's not a utility class. So we want to go and rename each one of these. Your nice section classes here, which are still very navigator friendly, are simply going to get an underscore. Underscore, underscore, underscore. I'm not going to go through every single page to do this, but this is what I would do to every single page when making a conversion. And now with this underscore, again, we go back to folders, the heart of this update, and it shows that this will now be in the custom class section of folders. So here we have our sections, and the idea is that we can see an overview of every section in the project. So imagine going into a new build, you can actually open up a build that you didn't build, somebody else's build. You can go into that section folder and you can get a preview of every single section with a good description in that project. So we have a product page, we have a product section, we have a feature section, and so on. So, oh, I'm on the product page. Yes. So let me go to the home page. I just want to make sure the home page is solid here. So I'll do the same thing here. All these underscores, underscore, underscore, underscore. Moving this from the utility folder to the custom class folder. Now, we are looking at some quicker ways to do this in Finsweet extension. It's not there yet. So for now, we are going to go and do this renaming. Good. Section features and section home testimonial. Great. Nice. So we've renamed our sections. We still get this beautiful navigator view. We still get the anchor scrolling benefit that we love from this section class, but we don't need to have it in the utility folder. Great. All right, let's continue here. New padding section size establishes global section padding. We've added this new copy to clipboard button for you. And what this is going to do is copy all three of the new padding section classes. And then you can copy those classes right to your project. So I will go and do that. And I'll do it in the style guide page. So I will, just for this demonstration, go and paste it here. And there we go. Padding section small, medium, and large. Let's look at what these classes are. This is going to apply top and bottom padding, and it's specific for the sections padding. This is not exactly part of the utility system of classes that we have, the V1 classes. In V1, we were doing padding vertical and then padding large, or padding vertical, padding huge. And this still works. You can do this. There's nothing wrong with this. But we found that people want to maintain the same size of sections specifically, not just sections, not just spacing of all elements of the project, but this is a global selector, a global class for updating all of the sections that have small space, all of the sections that have medium space, and all of the sections that have large space. So imagine a client says, hey, we just want a little bit less space in all the sections. Not every spacing of the entire project, but just of the sections. I can now go and update this, and this will update every single section of padding. So let's go and implement that. Let's see what that looks like. Here we have a padding top, padding huge. This one does not apply, but I will show you what we're doing here. So this doesn't have top and bottom padding. It's just the top. So let's actually skip it and do it at the end of the page. There we go. Padding vertical, padding extra huge. This is exactly what we're looking for. So instead of doing this, I'm going to remove these and say padding section large. There we go. Let's go to this one. This one we will also cover at the end. This is going to be a spacing block implementation. Padding vertical, great use case. So let's do the padding section medium. This one we can do padding section medium. You can see that each one of those was just a little bit different, right? We had the huge and then the extra large and then the extra, extra large and then the medium. We don't want too many different variations of our sections, right? We want to say these are the three options we have to create vertical padding of our sections. So that's the point of this update here, that we can identify this in one altogether. Padding extra huge. So this will be a padding section large. Padding section large. And there we go. Do we have one here? Nope, this is on the custom class. Great. So nice. We have now updated these padding verticals to our padding section size. Now, let's look at what we can do if something is just on the top or just on the bottom. We're going to use a spacing block for this. This is really good for applying section spacing only to one side. So what I'll do is I'll drag this out, drag this on top, and now we have it. There we go. We've just created a spacing block here. And I should probably say that we are trying to unify this with padding bottom. This works, but I'll do a padding bottom here. Padding extra huge. There we go. So this is now a spacing block. And a spacing block is going to apply this spacing only on one side. This is not for equal top and bottom. The padding section size is for equal top and bottom. The spacing block is for spacing on one side or different spacing on each side. So let's say we have the padding bottom extra huge, and then on the bottom of this section, we're going to want padding medium. I can do that. And this is a really nice benefit of the spacing block. And I'll go ahead and remove that because that was not part of the design, but I will show it again for this other section. Padding bottom, extra huge. So look what I do here. I'll take the component. Let me zoom in for you. Take the component. I'll drag it out of the padding bottom. And now I have the spacing block in play. The reason why we're going spacing block instead of a wrapper strategy is just for a little bit more visibility. As you know, in Client First, we have a lot of nesting. The core structure is built around nesting, and we like this. We like to have these classes separated. It helps us be flexible. It helps us include or not include classes. But when we get down to the actual content, we want really good visibility of that, right? We want to click on this and we want to see the sibling elements. We want to see as much as we can see. And we found and we heard that when it's nested another level, it just becomes a little bit less easy to view. So instead, we now make this a sibling element. We stay within the core utility system, padding bottom, padding extra huge, but now we can just see a little bit more. Really nice. This works really well when we'll do this towards the end of the video, but we can now separate this as well, right? Instead of seeing this when we click on the Y content, we can now see this. And it just gives us a little bit more visibility in the element and the spacing. Okay, so this page is now updated in terms of the new padding section size. I'll stop for a minute. I'll take a quick sip of water and I'll see if there's any questions that have to be answered. Okay, I'm glad I stopped. Penny, wonderful question. I'm really happy this question is asked right here. Penny says, what was the thinking behind using padding bottom instead of calling it a spacer? We absolutely talked about this. And we came to the conclusion that if we call it a spacer, if we create a whole other class from this, we're spreading out the entire utility spacing system. Everything becomes a little bit less global when you have too many options for spacing. So this actually works really well inside the existing system. As you can see, I didn't have to change the class. It still fits in this utility system of padding bottom, padding extra huge. And we're not adding more things to update. So if we want to make all of the spacing less, if we want to make all of the extra huge level spacing less, we would have to make that to the padding bottom, padding extra huge, and the padding spacer, padding extra huge, or padding spacer extra huge. So the core benefit is that it's in the same utility system. That's why it's backward compatible, because it still follows the same mentality. It's the same class. It's just a different arrangement of that class within the navigator. So that is the reason for that. It was a long conversation, but really we had a unanimous decision to stay within the utility system. Becomes a lot stronger. Okay. Pierre, this is a good one. How should we tag a spacing block for accessibility? I'm going to say that it's not tagged anything special, that it's just a div. If somebody disagrees with that, please correct me, but I don't think there's any special tagging needed. But I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about that. Okay, what else do we have? Yep, Emmett already answered it for me. Thank you so much. Okay. Sammy, great question. So, what do you think of the DOM too many HTML elements rendered on the page source code? Well, Sammy, I'm not concerned at all. And the reason is it's really not that much more. We are nesting a couple of elements here. Let me close this. We're absolutely just creating a few extra layers here, right? We could combine 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that goes for each one of these sections. So this would create less DOM elements. However, this is just not a lot of DOM elements. We're talking, let's say, a savings of 4 per section. Let's say there's 10 sections. That's 40 less DOM elements. When you put something like a Lottie file on the page, you are putting hundreds of DOM elements on the page. There are so many different things that we do every day that are really inefficient for DOM size. And we've run tests. We've identified this. We're probably going to release an article on it within the next few months explaining how we have more layers, but it absolutely does not hurt your DOM size when you're talking about page speed or any of these kinds of page scanners that give you a score on your page. When you look at a client first build and a, let's say, non-client first build that doesn't have this nesting, there is no hurt in client first. So that would be my answer to that. Okay. Is there documentation that starts right with V2? Yes. Finsweet.com/client-first. This is V2. We have the V1 still available in the footer, but if you're just reviewing these docs, this is V2. Okay. Good. Yeah, Emmett, if you want to save load time, try removing Google Analytics. Yes, there's a lot of things that really hurt your DOM size, and Lottie files is one of them. Open up any project with a fairly complex Lottie, and you will see it has a massive amount of DOM elements. Okay, great. And I just do like to see this. Mark, thank you so much. I'm pleased with the utility spacing classes. Works brilliantly. Thank you. Yes, Pablo Cortez. So the page padding still refers to the horizontal padding, right? That stays the same. Yes, it stays the same, but we went over before that this is now called padding global. This is not page padding anymore. It's renamed padding global, but has the same exact mentality. It's just renamed for folders. Cool. All right, let's continue. Making pretty good time. Let's go new heading style, H number. Let's copy this to the clipboard. This one is also going to go in the style guide. And I will put it here just for the presentation purpose. This is a set of classes to help us match our H tag styles with classes. So these are all H2 elements, right? As we can see, H2, 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 and they are going to take different styles based on our base tag settings. So we have heading style H1, heading style H2, heading style H3, H4, H5, and H6. Now, this is probably not going to match exactly here because it is a brand new project, but here's the idea. I'm going into an existing project, so I'll have to make this update. Geez, this reordering is really driving me nuts. Does that happen to other people where the elements just reorder randomly? Very frustrating, especially when live. Okay, so we have our H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. The idea is that these styles mimic the base tags. So when I go into my all H1 base tag, I'm going to see this style applied. And the idea is that this class is going to mirror that style. 1.1, 1.1. And H2 is 3, 1.2. Perfect. H3, this reordering is confusing me a bit. H3, 2.25, 1.2, 2.25, 1.2. Let's go to our H4, 1.5, 1.4, 1.5, 1.4. Let's go into our H5 base tag, 1.125, 1.5, 1.5. And then last, our H6, 1.5. Great. So the idea is that we don't want so many heading styles. If you're building a project and there's 12 or 20 or whatever amount of different heading styles, the site just doesn't look as good. It's not as organized. It's not as unified throughout the project. And as the site gets bigger, this gets more difficult to manage. So the idea is that we can establish these base sizes, H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And these are the 6 options that we have when creating a header. So H1, this is exactly what we want. This is our page title. Our most important information should be at the top of the page in the biggest text. And then we have our H2. And then we have our, let's see, I don't know where an H3 is, but there we go, H3. So we previously had heading small, and look, this is now creating a whole new class system, a new style system for headings. So maybe we had an H3 with an H small, but this creates now a 7th heading style. So instead, we can say, you know what, this is a little bit smaller. This should be styled like our H4. This should be styled like our H4, and this should be styled like our H4. And now we have to understand that there is a difference between SEO and the visual style. We are kind of marrying these two methods to have an organized project in terms of typography. But H3, this is an H3 for SEO, but visually it's going to be the same style as our H4. H3, visually, same style as H4. This one, maybe it's large, right? Maybe the client wants this extra big, so this will have the same style as our H1, but it is the heading 2 tag. Now, you have to understand that. Please read the typography page about this. Go to typography strategy. It explains this in full. And really, a big reason was we saw so many projects with so many different heading styles. So this is a way for us to visually say, most important content on the top, then our H2s, which are the second most important topic, the titles of the sections. And then within those titles of the sections, we have our H3s, which are the descriptions, the more specific content of that section. So this is the mentality. This is what we're rolling with. And this is what heading style is. So we do want to remove classes like heading small, heading extra small. These are now cut from client first V2. They are removed. We are not doing these anymore. Instead, we are unifying with the heading style class. Does anybody have any questions about heading styles before we move on? And I'm stopping to read the comments. Okay. Now we just need the Finsweet extension to do these heading classes set up heavy lifting automatically based on the H tags. Nice. Yeah, there should be a unify heading style H button. I like that, Lucas. Okay, we have some comments about the sidebar icons. No comment, no comment. Dale, thank you. Love the H number style idea. Penny, not using the headings for visual styling alone is so important. Yes, this is not just about visual styling. This is about creating a visual hierarchy of your typography on a page. This is what Google wants to see, and I think this is what makes a page very clear. The big thing, the smaller things in the section, and then the even smaller things within the section. Okay. Cool. Pablo, this is awesome. V2 already makes more sense than V1. Yes, that's the point. Exactly. Everything is more clearly explained, and it's just like a V2 of any product. It just becomes better after you learn from that V1. Okay. Great. Rock and roll CEO. Heading styles were a bit of a chore in V1. Yes, there was some confusion. We had people using those heading large, heading medium, heading small differently. We had people using that differently than the heading tags. And we just said there shouldn't be more than 6 heading tags in your project. This is what they should be. So that's the mentality there. Okay. Nice. Next, I will go over the new display inline flex utility class. This was a popular one among our advanced Webflow users. Specifically, our most advanced people have brought this up. The people who know CSS, who really have a deep understanding of Webflow, and then everybody really agreed with it. So let's see what this is. I'll copy this. Let's go to the style guide page and paste this in. We have a new class called Display Inline Flex. This is not a native CSS property in Webflow, so we do have to copy this custom code. So I'm going to copy this custom code into the global styles embed. Again, Webflow does not support this, so we have to go and add it to the global embed. In here, global styles. Let's open that up, and I will go and paste that in here. And now our display inline flex class will work. Now, let's create a good example of this. Let me just create something new here. So I will create a div block. I can even folder my examples, right? You can folder anything. If you want to just organize a set of classes, folder it. Example, flex wrap. And then we'll do a image, not like that. Example image, and let's hit it with a example button. Great, with some text. And let's also get a little bit of color in here so we can see what's going on. We'll get some color in here. And we want, hey, oh, this was applied to the wrong element. Okay, we wanted the color in here. Great. So if I were to go and apply this flex here, we have this flex applied. Everything spans out. We can adjust this. I can go and apply a flex, inline flex, and now this entire element is going to act inline while still keeping its flex properties. So we can really adjust this as we want, but the whole thing is not going to span the entire size of the page, right? Sometimes we want a combination of flex and inline. This is the combination. So a lot of our advanced people asked for it, so we went ahead and we went and added it. So play around with this when you're in if you don't really understand it, if you're in a problem with flex or inline or how do I not make something go 100%, play around with that flex inline and you will understand it. Okay, wonderful. Removed. Okay, quick break for questions. Oh, we're at 99 watching. Come on. Give me one more. Somebody open up an incognito. We're at 100. Let's hear it. Come on.
That's effing sweet.
Nice. There we go. Love it. Okay, hold on. Let's look at the comments. Okay, Kai, thank you. The best thing now about Client First is sharing projects with teammates. It's seamless. That is exactly what this is for. If you follow Client First and you work on a team, when you jump into a properly built Client First project, it will feel like you built the project. That's amazing. It's going to lower that learning curve of you coming in and making those updates. Additionally, if we go into folders of any project that our teammate built, we can actually get a really good understanding of the organization of classes in the project, why classes are made, and any kind of new utility classes that are being used in the project. So yes, excellent for teams. Dale, just imagine what V3 will bring to the table. Well, I will say, let's not think about V3. I hope that there will not be a V3 for a very long time. Really, the big update for V2 was better explanation and the tech edition of folders, right? We had a technology improvement, and that is really what pushed V2 forward. So, yeah, V3, don't be concerned that we're switching to V3 anytime soon, but we'll probably come up with something cool, and then it will go make that happen. Okay, next. Yeah, Penny. I can inspect a client first site and understand what's going on without a lot of digging. Oh, Susan. Yes, folder is now a verb. Ooh, I love that. If you use client first V2 folders as a verb, wow, that's just, it made my stream. Thank you. Okay. What else do we have here? We have 9 minutes. If I can go through exactly the V1 to V2 guide in that 1 hour, that will be a huge win. Okay. Okay. Cool. I wish I could bring up every comment here, but I am not. So I'm going to continue here. All right. We removed the show classes. This is not something you would have to update inside of a V1 project, but just know that in V2, we removed the show classes. So like show desktop, show tablet, show mobile. These all apply display block. They were kind of useful, but not really. If you have any display properties that you want to add, use a combo class, modal component, and then is whatever you want to do for responsive. This is much more efficient, much more effective, much more customizable than the show classes. We saw that people weren't really using them or using them incorrectly. So we canceled it. Okay. Spacing strategy. This is a big one. It's at the end of the list, but it's certainly not the least important. Spacing wrappers was V2, V1. Now we're going spacing blocks and spacing wrappers. So if you have a whole project with spacing wrappers, I don't recommend that you just migrate everything to blocks. Wrappers are fine. Leave them. They work. They're part of the existing utility system. Spacing blocks just make it a little bit more easy to go and apply that spacing, update that spacing, and just to view the elements in Navigator. Also in V2, we have custom classes on the element, but in V2, we introduce the CSS grid on the parent. We'll look at all of this right now. So let's now close this up. And really, you don't even have to look at the visual page here to make this happen. I can go through and say, okay, this is margin bottom. And instead of having the margin bottom, I can go and apply this as padding bottom. We're using padding because it will give you an accurate view of the space inside the canvas. So if I go, let's do extra huge here, I can go and apply this in between each one of these elements. So I remove the wrappers, and now I can apply whatever kind of spacing I want in terms of blocks. So maybe this one is a padding small. Maybe this one is a padding medium. And I can now space things with these blocks. They're easier to select your element. It's easier to select the spacing separately, and you don't have to worry about further nesting of elements. So this is really useful. We're seeing a lot of people build quicker with this. So that's what this is. It's just an empty div as a block rather than taking that as a parent wrapper and nesting something inside of it. Let's go and try to get another one of these. Margin bottom. I have this padding bottom. And I can go and apply this just like this. There we go. Oh, where'd it go? I need to apply a class, and there we go. Nice. So this is the mentality. I'm not going to go through every single one of these and make this update. Again, I don't recommend you make this update in a V1 build. It's just not needed. This is more for, I'm starting a new project, I'm doing a fresh build, let's now do blocks instead of wrappers. Now, let's look at the custom CSS method. So one problem with this is for recurring elements. So let's say we have this recurring element here. I'm going to go ahead and apply this padding bottom to each one of these. Padding bottom, padding bottom, padding bottom, and here, outside, outside. Great. So we have padding bottom, padding bottom, padding bottom. What happens when I want to update all three of these? This is kind of a difficult process. It's a very manual process. I want to make an update to a specific element, and this is recurring. Maybe we have 3 on this page, maybe we have 10 on another page. I want to be able to make these updates all at the same time. So another strategy, instead of doing this spacing block, we can go and apply a grid to the parent. I'll go no column, and we'll just keep this at a simple 1 rem. And there we go. Now, if I want to update the spacing of all of these together, I can say no problem. I can go and apply that. And this is a great way to really make sure that you can manage specific elements together. If it's just 3 on the page, maybe we don't want to do this, right? 3 in the whole project. But maybe this is recurring, and I don't want to go through and update the utility spacing every single time. We can go and, we can apply this all together. And it's nice that we can also apply it right to this element here. So it doesn't have to be an equal amount of spacing each element here. We can also apply it right to the custom class here. As you can see, custom class, really nice. This is well done. And if we wanted to, we could apply it to the parent. There we go. That's custom class on the parent using CSS Grid. Great for lists, great for recurring elements, great for these side content pieces. And we can also use spacing wrappers together with this CSS grid method. So let's look at what this is. If I go grid, I'm going to go one rem, and I can add a utility class to this. Maybe I don't want equal spacing in between each element. And I can say this one is going to be extra big, but I still get this benefit of the grid spacing. So this is an option right now. Really, the key to this is you have options. Not these methods are not better or worse than each other, but you have the options to make smart decisions. Please go ahead and read that spacing strategy page. It's an important one. With these options, you now have to understand what the best decision is to go and implement any kind of spacing in your project. So I will stop and I will see if there are any questions. Nice, Lucas. Spacing blocks, much more intuitive for deep level elements. Also great to not have to expand a bunch of divs. Exactly. This is exactly why we did it. And we are finding that most people are now using spacing blocks. And you can use spacing wrappers, but blocks. Jason from Flow Pros, nice. Also prefers padding blocks for spacing. Yeah, Pierre. So it seems that there is some consensus around the new V2. Absolutely. We were building this for over 6 months. This was checked and iterated and checked and iterated, repeat by everybody at Finsweet and by our pros. We got a lot of comments from pros. We did an early release with them, and a lot of people really helped in the formation of these docs. So this is a really tested system. We have a lot of smart people and experienced people agreeing on these strategies. Okay. Does flex row spacing have any role to play in any scenario? Yeah, sure. So if I were to create let's say a button row, I can even put this in my button folder, right? If I wanted a button folder, I could say row, and I can do a grid here or a flex or whatever I want, and I can put multiple buttons inside of here. Absolutely. Okay, Penny, thank you for coming. Dale, yes, love it. Emmett, thank you for coming. And yes, we are now at the hour, and I have finished this V1 to V2 guide. So perfect. Time management, win. It's exactly what we were going for today. So this is a really good overview of the V1 to V2 changes. I'm really happy to see a lot of happy faces and really thumbs up positive reviews of this new V2, because when you're building in client first and it helps you with your business and it helps you with your agency and it helps you with scaling, this is why we continue to do these projects. We wouldn't come out with a V2 if people didn't love V1. So thank you so much. Really appreciate everything. And yeah, I think this is the end of this video. Pros, any pros that are still here, we have a great meeting tomorrow. We have really epic things for you tomorrow. Last month, we asked you what you wanted to do, what you wanted us to do for pro. And we literally took the top 2 things and we are delivering that this month. So a big giveaway for Wiz, and we are now doing pro only features and attributes. Those are launching tomorrow. You got to be there if you're a pro. If you are not, well, I will share the link and then I will sign off. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the day and keep building in Client First V2.